On this episode, we talk about time management, comparison, laziness, and my toughest time as a CEO. Sometimes pain is a part of the process, and so I'm excited about where we're at right
now. Grass is on my head, feel like 100 grand, cause I'm on the dead or alive.
You would've thought I was whipping and pushing and selling this dope.
So the struggle was necessary in order for the success.
They trying to ghost your boy, they pulling the gun out the holster. But I'm doing me like I'm posted, yeah. You're smart.
All right, what's up? This is Eugene Johnson, CEO of Zyro. Welcome to episode number 1 of E Squared. This is where I'm going to be answering your questions about sales, about business, about entrepreneurship, about tech, about life. So you send up your questions, we'll send you back answers, and we're excited for episode number 1. Let's go.
Rebecca Hyatt asks, what is your most difficult professional challenge and how did you overcome it?
So it's actually 2 people's questions, so I'm going to actually combine them because the secondary question was, what was your worst failure as a CEO and how did you deal with it? So it's 2 different questions that was asked, so 2 different answers. It's not 2 different answers, it's 1 answer, so I'm going to combine those 2 questions as 1 question. So what was the most difficult professional challenge and then what was the most difficult time as a CEO? Those 2 things are one and the same. It was last year, excuse me, it was last year where we ran into a difficult time. So just to kind of give you background knowledge, so we started Zyro in 2017. Really 2016, technically 2017 is when we actually started moving towards it. And I went full time at Zyro in August of 2017. And at the time, we were building the product, just basically building the tech around it. We had our main tech guy, Akash, and Akash really spent the time building the product, getting everything right. And in 2018 is when we launched. And when we launched, we started to sell the product. And so in 2018, we did a really good job selling. For a brand new starter, for us to go from 0 to almost $500,000 in ARR, that's annual recurring revenue. It was great, but we ran into a little bit of a problem. And the problem was, I was doing a bulk of the selling. I was pretty much the first sales guy, so I was doing a bulk of the selling between January and basically July. And in the back half of July, we started hiring sales reps. So I was closing at about a 30% clip. And we started hiring sales reps, and they just could not close at that same clip. And so what we had to do was kind of think through. We were in 2 different situations. Either one was we had to either hire a higher quality sales rep, or our process was to say, how do we make the product simpler and easier so that we didn't need a high quality sales rep? So long story short, even though the harder choice was, the easier choice is just to get another better quality sales rep. The harder choice is actually to take the time and rebuild the product, reconfigure the product. But that's what we did. We decided to reconfigure the product and we started to resell. But the problem was we already had, our team was about 16, 17 at the time. And there was a large group of those people who just could not help us with the new product and the new processes. And so we had to make an adjustment and go through a round of layoffs. It's probably one of the toughest decisions. Now, I've been in business since I was 18, and really, if you want to count other businesses, probably before that. And that was definitely the hardest time in my life to sit down there and say, hey, we're going to have to move in a different direction. I literally cried. I never said this out loud. My wife knows, but I literally cried. I was that sad that we had to move in a different direction. But at the end of the day, when you get put in a position of CEO, that means sometimes you have to make tough decisions. Probably one of the toughest decisions that I had to make. But behind every difficult problem is always some rainbow at the end. And I always say, well, if you're gonna have a testimony, you need a test. If you're gonna have a rainbow, you need the rain, right? If you're gonna have sunshine, you need the darkness. Like, there's a duality in all all things. And for me, I had to realize that even though that was the roughest and toughest moment of my life, we also was able to galvanize the team together with the team that we did cut down to, and we really revigored the product. And we literally went from, and this is like unheard of, we went from no product, pivoting to an entirely new product, shifting the whole entire sales process of it. Man, I was literally pitching the product before we even built the product. So I had customers signing up on the waiting list for the product that we didn't even have built yet. Literally, we just had PowerPoint slides that I was pitching. And so we literally built the product, sold the product, tested the product, created an entirely new process for the product, and raised a round against that all within 4 months. And I was probably like, when it's all said and done, I think that in 5 years, 10 years from now, I believe that what we did in that 4-month process, there are very few companies, and I don't like to toot my own horn, but there are very few founders who would be able to take what we were in and revigorate in such a short amount of time, raise money against it, sell against it. We literally sold more business in that 1 30-day period because we relaunched again in February. So in November we made the shift of 2018, and then February we decided to relaunch, and we sold more business, 3 times as much business in February than we did the entire year the year before. So you think that you're in a tough situation, in a difficult situation, you think that you're in rain, but the rain is just preparation for the rainbow. And so I was okay with going through that rain and making the adjustment, and what we came out was stronger on the other side. And so when you ask the question of what's the most difficult professional situation or difficult time as a CEO, that was really it. And we overcome it by the way we thought about it. You can either look at this as a potential killer, which honestly, I had to really deal with myself, because I was thinking, man, like, are we going to be able to make this happen? Like, is this really going to be able to be done? Because what we're asking to do is not an easy task. And luckily we were able to make it happen. And so a lot of it is about how you think about it, how you perceive the problem, and we perceived it as an opportunity versus a company-ending problem, which it could have been. And so, yeah, that's basically my answer to that question. Thank you for the question. All right, next question.
Vivacious Hannah wants to know, how do you combat both comparison and laziness?
Now, these are 2 big topics in and of itself. Comparison and laziness, crazy. So first, let me just talk about comparison. Comparison is a thief of all opportunity. And the problem is that in today's world, social media, it becomes very easy to just compare. Because, they're having a baby, they just got married, my friend just got a girlfriend, my friend just got a boyfriend, they just, bought a home, they just got a new car, and you get this whole idea of what other people's life is. But in the reality of this scheme, everybody is showing you a PR version of their life. They're saying, look at the great moments in my life. And if you watch highlights, like, I'm a big basketball fan, and being a basketball fan, during the summertime, every one of the great or the good basketball players, they show these clips of them working out in the gym. And you know what they never show? They never show a clip of them working out missing shots. But in reality, you know that that's what's happening on the back end. You know they're missing shots. And so for me, like, what's the point of making a comparison when you're comparing your worst to somebody's best on a consistent basis? And that's what a lot of people end up doing. They end up comparing where they are currently to what they see in social media, which is just their best, not necessarily what their real life is. They could be putting up a picture that took them 17 tries to actually get right. And then when you put it up and you think, their life might be perfect. Look at that family. They're all together and happy. They could have been just screaming at each other, yelling at each other just 5 minutes beforehand. And they just got together to take that one picture, and now they're going back to yelling at each other, and it looks like they have this perfect family. So you gotta keep in mind, what are you comparing yourself to? But here's the second thing of comparison. It doesn't make sense, and here's why. It's because everybody has their own journey. Like, you go through your own things in life. You know, I go through my own things, you go through your own things, and we base our journey based off of what we've been through in the past and our experiences up until this date. And so if you get to a place internally where you're saying, I'm comparing myself to Eugene. Well, Eugene might have had 10 years experience in this specific thing before he jumped into it. And so somebody might say, oh, well, you took the company through the ups, through the downs, back into an up, and man, anybody can do it. Well, the reality is I had started multiple businesses way beforehand, and I can guarantee you this, and this is one thing I'll guarantee you. If I didn't have business experience ahead of time, Zyra would not be alive today. There's no way I would have been able to take the business from where we are, from where we were to where we are currently, if I didn't have that back-end business experience. Same thing for tech experience. I decided that I had never worked a corporate job in my life. I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I worked small odd jobs, but I never worked a corporate job. And in that corporate job, my first corporate job was a company called Meraki. I made the decision to take that job because I knew I didn't know enough about tech, and I wanted to get in the world of tech, not just be on the outside looking in. I didn't want to start a company not knowing what I was basically jumping into. And so I knew for a fact that I needed to have that back-end knowledge. Well, that back-end knowledge, that 4.5 years that I spent at Cisco Meraki, I would not be able to be where I am today without that time period, because it gave me an idea of how investors thought. It gave me an idea of how you structure tech businesses. It gave me an idea of how you structure tech sales teams. Even though I built sales teams in the past, it's just a small, slight differences that it gave me an understanding of the verbiage that needs to be used in this specific space. So these are a lot of things that you learn, and then I had all of that experience before I started the company. So when you might compare yourself and say, well, Eugene was able to take his company out of these problems and into success, you know, that means that anybody can. Well, in reality, the question is, do you have that back-end experience? So for you to compare yourself to me in that situation, would it make sense? The same way, like if I compare myself to Michael Jordan or Steph Curry and say, I should be able to shoot like Steph Curry. Well, if you don't have the back-end experience, then how could you compare yourself? So a lot of times people are not even comparing apples to apples. They're comparing oranges to pears and plums to bananas. Like, it doesn't make sense for people to make those type of comparisons. And here's the third thing I want to share about comparisons. If you don't have blinders on, if you're so focused on somebody else that you don't know what you want, you're not clear about what you want, you don't have the blinders on, like if you ever watch horse racing, they put those blinders on horses so they don't get caught up looking at anybody else's journey. So you gotta ask yourself, how bad do I want what I said I want? Because if you want that bad, you're not gonna be worried about everybody else. Look, I don't got time to be thinking about everybody else and what they think about me and how they feel about me and what they're doing versus what I'm doing. Like, I'm too busy doing what I'm doing. So sometimes I even think that when people are succeeding, you know, I know I do a lot on social media, and it's really not me. It's mostly Marvin doing all of it for the most part. So people think that I'm on social media. So I had somebody reach out to me and say, you know, that like, oh man, people don't congratulate me. I would love to have you congratulate me when you see that I'm succeeding on social media. I'm like, I'm not even on it. I'm not even looking at that stuff. I literally do not have time to be diving so deep into it. Don't get me wrong, I am on social media, I do get on it, I do see things every once in a while, but I'm not diving in and seeing what is this person doing, how is this person doing. Like, it doesn't make sense if I am focused on my goals, what I want, that doesn't make sense. So that's comparison. I just think comparison is the thief of opportunity, and if you let comparison in, it will steal your joy, it will steal your happiness, it will steal your success, and so I suggest that you don't do it. And the last thing about laziness is going back to my last statement about comparison, which is, how bad do you want it? If you want it, you're gonna stop complaining, you're gonna start doing it. Like this, it's just, there is no middle ground to this. You're either moving forward or you're moving backward. There's no such thing as neutrality. And a lot of people wanna play in this neutrality zone, which is laziness, which is like, I say I want it, but I'm not going to do anything to actually get it. And so the question just becomes like, are you playing in that role or in that function, or are you not? And I think that is It's silly for you to say that you want something and then complain all of the time than to do it. If you really want it bad enough, then you won't be lazy. So the question becomes, are you being lazy because you don't want what you say you want? Is that the reality? Because that's usually what it is. People like to talk because it's like, man, I want to be an entrepreneur because entrepreneurs is super cool in today's society. Like, it's cool to put that I am, top person in whatever company. I'm the founder, so on and so forth. Like, people are doing it because other people care about it and it makes them feel good to do something that other people think is cool. But the question is, do you actually want to be a business owner? Like, not everybody's cut out to be a business owner. Not everybody's cut out to be an entrepreneur. I know there's a lot of people that say, like, everybody needs to be an entrepreneur. But the reality is, like, everybody doesn't need to be an entrepreneur. Like, do what you feel is best. If you want to be an artist, be an artist. If you want to be an athlete, be an athlete. If you want to, be a doctor, be a doctor. Like, don't let other people's pressure of what they think you should do dictate what you should do. Because that's really the definition of laziness. Laziness means that you're not inspired to get up and do what you need to do. And if you're not inspired, that means that you're doing something that you're not excited about. And if you're not excited about it, you need to find something else to do. Because when you get aligned to your passion, your purpose, what you've been called to do, something will light up inside of you that says, I gotta move, I gotta go, I gotta do, because I can't wait, waste another day. And here's another part of laziness is if you feel like you got forever. Sometimes people just think, I'm gonna be alive forever. I believe in the duality of things. Life is short and life is long at the same time. Life is long. The average person is living to 70, 80, 90 years old, whatever that number is. But life is also short because some people don't live that long. Some people live 20, 30, 40 years. Some people live 10 years. So the question is, how are you going to make how are you going to align your goals to your inner desires? Like, what I'm saying I want aligns to what I care about, and I'm going to move on this right away because I don't know if I have another week, another day, another month. I remember when I was on a plane flying from where was I going? I think I was going to Arizona, or coming back from Arizona to San Francisco. And while I was on the plane, it was like some crazy turbulence. I mean, like, the plane was shaking. Like, even the flight attendants were nervous. And in that moment, the one thing that I thought I would be afraid of is I thought I would be afraid to die right there. Like, I thought that death would be the thing that I was afraid of. But the real thing I was afraid of, man, I'm gonna die, and I felt like I hadn't done what I needed to do. Like, I felt like I hadn't lived my calling yet. Like, there was still a book inside of me that I was saying in my head I'm gonna write, but I never wrote it yet. That's the thing. That's one of the things that kind of pushed me to finish my book, was like being in that situation. There was just some things I wanted to do in business that I hadn't been able to do yet. So all of these things I was really passionate about getting done, but I felt like I got sparked in that moment, and that's really the thing that separates laziness. Is really the idea of saying, do I have the spark internally to get me to where I want to go? All right, I have time for one or two more questions, so we're going to do one or two more questions, and then we're going to get going. So let's see, there's some good ones in here. How do you stay motivated? I feel like it was literally what I just said is really the motivation. Find exactly what you want and go after it with reckless abandon, but be clear on what you want and make sure it's what you want, not what other people want for you or what you think looks good from the outside looking in.
Ken Dogs asks, what's your day like from when you wake up to the moment you sleep?
This is an interesting scenario. So, as a lot of people know, I'm a fan of Gary Vee. Gary Vee is a dope dude. Matter of fact, let's put some links in here for him. If you don't know who Gary Vee is, you should get to know him. Now, just be prepared that he drops a lot of F-bombs and stuff like that. So, if you can't handle it, definitely don't jump over there. I know so he can become an acquired taste, but to me, I think I kind of move beyond the specifics of the words he's using and try to get to what he's actually saying. But long story short, Gary Vee has a scenario where he works Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. till midnight every day. He doesn't get home till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, he goes out with his family. Now, I wish I can do that. But in reality, my wife, now his wife is super cool with it. They've come to an agreement, and that's awesome. Like, congratulations. My wife ain't having that. So there's no way I'll be able to say Monday through Friday. It's just like the dynamics of our relationship would not work in that situation. And so I gotta be a little bit more flexible. So maybe I'll leave a little bit earlier, like maybe a 5 or a 6. And I'm out and I'm doing what I need to do, and I'm trying to get back in the house by, about 8 at the latest. Sometimes 8:30 or 9, but I try to get in between 7 and 8, and that's my goal, so I can spend some time with the family during the evening, and then I do, Saturday I usually kind of do some work in the morning times between like 7, 8, and probably 1 or 2. And then I'm done and I try to be with the family. And then Sunday, I literally don't do anything. Sunday is all family. I try not to, don't message me, don't send me an email. I'm not going to reply. I try not to as much as I possibly can. Every once in a while, my wife will catch me. I'm like, oh, my bad. But other than that, I try to keep it like that. So my day is literally, I wake up, I go to the gym, I eat breakfast, head to the office. I get my word in. So anybody who knows me knows I'm a faith-based dude. So I try to get in the word there. I get my start reading some type of book, whatever book I'm reading at that moment. And then I literally transition over to everything I need to do for business by, I would say, about 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then from 9 till 7, I'm literally hustling whatever needs to be done throughout the day. And then I head to the house, and I'm with the family from about 8 to the end of the day. I try to go to sleep by 11:30, 12. When I'm lucky, I get it at 10:30, but the reality is like mostly 11:30, 12, and I hit it again and get my 6 hours in, and I hit it the next day. So that's pretty much what my day or week looks like. All right, what's another question on here that we can go into? The last question of the day, so we gotta make this good. This gotta be a good one.
Ryan the Dude 727 asks, what is your method of time management?
So I have this philosophy, and I mentioned this in a video that I put out not too long ago, that my wife gets annoyed because of the fact that I always go back to this same philosophy, which is when you want to figure out what you need to do on a day-to-day basis, it's really simple. Look, I'm going to give you, all right, here's the thing. I'm going to give you exactly what you need to shift your life for the better, guaranteed within the next 12 months. Guaranteed. I guarantee you, if you do this, your life will change in the next 12 months. Here's what you do. You lay out exactly what you want your life to look like 5 years from now. So just ask yourself, 5 years from now, what exactly do I want my life to look like? Forget about, seems like too far-fetched. Oh, this seems like it's too far away. Forget about that. Exactly what is the day in your life 5 years from now? Walk me through. Just write a paragraph on walking me through that. And every time I ask this, people make it seem like this is a difficult thing to do. Most people spend more time planning their vacation than they do planning their life. Take the time. It will take you a few minutes, but do it. It will change your life. Figure out what I want to be 5 years from now. Then ask yourself, let's act like today is December of 2019. Ask yourself, what do I need to do in let me not do that because I don't want to give you guys an out. Do it today. Act like it's August, which is what it is, of 2019. And ask yourself this, what do I need to do over the next 12 months to get me closer to that 5-year vision? Not what's going to get me there. What's going to get me closer? Once you figure that out, I bet you this is what you're going to be doing. You're going to be having this list of 36 different things you need to do to get you closer. Here's what I'll ask you to do. Narrow that list down to 1, 2, or 3 things. 3 things at the max, but really 1 or 2. When you figure out what those 1 or 2 things are that you need to do, here's what I want you to do. Ask yourself, what do I need to do in the next 6 months to get me to that 1 year thing? Those 1 or 2 things. What things do I have to do in the next 6 months to get me closer to the 1 or 2? Then you ask, what do I need to do in the next 3 months to get me to those 6 month things? What do I need to do this month to get to the 3-month things? What do I need to do this week to get to the month things? Then it becomes really easy. You're really living your life and your goal setting week by week. Now here's the problem with that, is that the goals are so small week by week that mentally you think I'm not doing anything to actually hit my long-term goal because the long-term goal is so far. So you have this huge goal where your goal is up here and you're down here. And what most people do is they try to jump in one step from here to here. And the reality is what they do is they say, oh, I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna jump. And then they land somewhere right here. And then instead of praising the progress and saying, I went from here to here, they're beating themselves up because they're not here. And so mentally, you haven't put yourself in the right predicament to win. And so you only build a habit of winning by winning. But so many people are trying to lose their way to winning. It doesn't make sense. Don't set goals that you know you're not going to put in the goals to hit. Now, don't get me wrong. This is, like I said, I believe in duality of everything. So I'm not saying that you can't. If you want to be a millionaire this week, that's probably not going to happen. Now, I'm not saying that it can't happen, because a lot of things can happen to help you do that. But the reality is you're probably not going to put in the work necessary to go from 0 to $1 million in 1 week. Now, 0 to $1 million in a year, definitely a lot more possible, but it's still a lot harder. So you got to ask yourself, where am I currently? And then take yourself internally, okay, what do I need to do in order to get to that place? And when you put out the work necessary, you see, okay, here's what needs to happen this year in order for me to do it. You internally will know, I'm willing to do this or I'm not willing to do this. If you're not willing to do this, lower the goal. If you are, then put in the hustle and make it work. And then what you do is every single month you reassess. Every single week, really, you reassess. And so when you ask me how do I manage my time, literally from minute to minute, even my wife gets annoyed because I want to just put everything on the calendar. I want to hang out with my son on the calendar. I want to put the reading on the calendar. I'm going to put the gym on the calendar. I'm going to put work on the calendar. I'm trying to break it down into 15-minute increments if I can. Like, I'm always putting everything back on the calendar, and I live on the calendar day to day, but the day-to-day calendar is based off of what I set my goals for that specific week, and then all I'm focused on is what that week needs to be done based off my day-to-days. And that's literally how I manage my time. And I don't even call it management of time. I really call it management of my success. If I want to hit my goals in the right way, I'm managing every single day like it is set up for me to hit that overall 5-year goal. And what most people do is they aimlessly live their life hoping that at some point in time they get to that place, when I'm a lot more strategic and have more strategy around it. And here's why. It's because I believe in execution. Execution is king, and if you can't get execution without proper strategy. And so that's really what I would focus on from a time management perspective. So yeah, that's it. That's all we got time for today. Be ready for episode number 2. We're excited. We're gonna have a ton more questions to answer, a ton more things to talk about. So you keep sending over those questions. We'll keep sending you back some answers. Peace.
For reasons you won't understand. Prices on my head, like 100 grand. Now they want me dead or alive.